You don't. Okay, now that you've heard my honest opinion, here's how I build Last Rite when I have no other option. I recently finished Valley 4 using a team only built around Last Rite because I got her on both the new player banner and in my first 10 pull on the standard banner. Motherfuck! And absolutely no one else. Oh, and I had to fight a winter storm during that time, so really my release weekend was just meant to be filled with ice and disappointment. For those of you unaware, Last Rite is a cryo specialist, which means she relies on the team you build around her to do any meaningful damage. This is emphasized by the fact that her combo skill only triggers with 3 stacks of cryo infliction, and her ultimate encourages you to go to 4 stacks to get a higher cryo susceptibility level. Meanwhile, her battle skill is just a final hit enhancement to provide 1 cryo stack. So, unless we want to be playing at the literal speed of a glacier moving across land, we gotta change some things up. First is to stop using Last Rite as your main controlled operator. Enfield's combat system is unique in that your entire team is always out, meaning you never need to swap between characters to get access to their skills and ultimates. Last Rite has 2 glaring issues that work against her being a controlled operator. The first is that, while her battle skill doesn't have an animation time, both her combo skill and ultimate do, locking you out of performing any basic attack chains. The second is her weapon class. Greatsword is, not a great consistent final hit weapon. It does a lot of stagger, and Last Rite has one of the largest stagger values on final hit, but between the animation locks and the time it takes to proc her battle skill, she's just really bad for main control. Hey, tech from the future here. So there is a new animation tech that got released while I was in the middle of editing this. It lets you get an extra auto attack chain, so you get 3 instead of 2 by dash canceling. The issue is that it still doesn't address the fact that you lose the ability to do a final hit chain while you're casting combo skill and ultimate, and it is long enough for each one that you are losing a full one. So, I mean, like, you can use her as the main one, but you just save yourself the trouble. Second is to get a team that gets her pumping out as many ultimates as possible. Last Rite's kit is unique in that the ultimate only gains energy from her own battle skill and combo skills, with extra being fueled whenever stacks of cryo infliction are consumed. Bad for team play, but very good for Last Rite if you can be constantly eating a 4-stack cryo. Looking at our options, we're kinda hurting for operators. Of everyone who can generate a cryo infliction and doesn't try to eat it like a skittle on the table, we only have Snowshine, Estella, and technically Fluorite. I say technically because she's reliant on you getting two stacks of cryo first, but we need 3 more members on the team, so she'll have to do for now. Of these 3, only Snowshine is a viable controlled operator, mainly because Estella's battle skill is a channeled effect that takes a little bit too long for my liking, and Snowshine has a get out of jail free card in her battle skill. It's actually really funny to use because it'll parry and give you an insane amount of invincibility frames and a cryo infliction. So stacking both stagger and cryo is really easy. Technically, you only need 2 battle skills to reach the Fluorite threshold, one being the Last Rite battle skill and the other being Estella's battle skill. By the time you land the final hit, you should have enough SP to proc a second Last Rite battle skill to match up with the cryo stack consumption timing on the combo skill. Oh, yeah. Did I forget to mention that it gets consumed on combo skill completion and not on trigger? This lets you get some unreasonably weaved combos where you're triggering Last Rite's combo skill at 3 stacks and slamming a Fluorite ultimate mid combo skill to get that 4th stack bonus. And there you have it. The Last Rite team that I went through the game with. Now, it does kind of suffer in mob packs because Last Rite kinda sucks ass with mobs since her skills, while technically AoE, are really narrow. For that, I have also been testing Akakuri as the main controlled operator, and honestly it feels really good. Faster final hit chains, the ability to proc solidification for Estella, and faster Last Rite battle skill procs to do damage faster and move on to the next enemy. In terms of boss fights, she also feels like she does more damage as a whole, which is to be expected given the armor set difference between her and Snowshine, and she generates more SP to keep the chains going. My only gripe is that she plays on a knife's edge due to her low health pool and lack of mitigation or healing outside of tactical items. Looking at the 4+1 operators I've presented, you may notice that this is a very accessible team, with 3 of them being 4-star operators, and Snowshine being given free if you logged in close to the release date. That's because there's literally no better option due to how voracious Last Rite is, needing an insane amount of resources dedicated to her to let her perform on par with any other 6-star in damage. Xaihi could be used in place of Fluorite or Estella, but results in less consistent damage and a dependency on a burst window due to her battle skill focusing on healing rather than damage, and her ult being a limited amp time. I could see her finding a place with Akaguri for a bit more consistency in terms of sustain, but in general she's pretty lackluster. As for Alesh and Yvonne, they also consume all stacks of cryo on their battle skill and rely on solidification, making them 2 extra mouths to feed when the fatty that is Last Rite already consumes the table. Now, for those of you who are more interested in combo sequence, here's what it looks like. Last Rite battle skill into a Stella Snowshine battle skill depending on the boss behavior. Final hit cryo proc from the Last Rite battle skill, Fluorite combo skill after 2 hit procs of cryo, Last Rite combo skill to trigger it, and a Stella battle skill to follow up. This should lead to a 4-stack cryo proc and is a solid BNB opener to any fight. After this, due to Fluorite's relatively long combo skill timer, you want to be supplementing with an extra Last Rite battle skill to get both Last Rite ult charge and buy time for the potential talent regarding the reduction of Fluorite's combo skill for every cryo or nature infliction applied, limited to once a second. Fluorite's ultimate can be weaved in place of a battle skill in case no SP is available for usage, and you can time it pretty easily with final hit procs to always get 4-stack cryo consumed. You ideally want to also be spamming Last Rite's ultimate up until about 75 to 80% stagger meter, then hold it to get big damage once you pop the stagger. What's really interesting is that the performance of Akakuri versus Snowshine on these teams. There's a speedrunning competition going on right now for a few content creators, and they're using Rodigan as a target, so I figured he'd also be a good benchmark for this test. Akakuri, despite being the theoretically higher damage output due to higher attack and more consistent skill uptime, actually performs worse than Snowshine, all because of one really dumb interaction. See this big stage move that the pipe face is doing? You're supposed to hide behind these walls and avoid the big blast. However, Rodigan has 2 parts to his big bingus explosion. One small explosion to knock back nearby operators, and one big boy explosion to do tons of damage and break the walls. The issue is that waiting behind the walls is DPS loss. Instead, we can do this. This means that every stage-wide interaction, so long as you have at least 1 bar of SP, you can just say no and mitigate the big boy explosion and generate both stagger and cryo infliction. This only adds up to like a 7 to 8% faster clear time since DPS from Akakuri is technically higher, but her ceiling is dependent on certain boss mechanics like Marble and Glamorai and a relatively straightforward pat. Okay, so that's also why I play Snowshine, because Akaguri is kind of squishy. Now, it should be said that this is not the most optimal output you can get. Ideally, I should be having Last Rite use her signature weapon, Sundered Prince on Snowshine, and like 3 other weapon swaps across the board. But rotation and composition wise, I think this is the most complete we can get it at the current patch. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go slaughter the Landbreakers and Wooling so I can get better gear and more pools to get someone other than Last Rite. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks. I'd appreciate a like or a comment to get your feedback regarding my content, as it helps me improve my process. In the meantime, you might be interested in my beta test 2 video of Dapong doing nothing and watching his opponent bleed to death, because nothing's really changed. You can do the same thing. I have a couple other ideas bouncing around, but I might just revisit Dapong in a future video. In the meantime, thanks. I'll see you around.